Grace was standing outside her own house in the rain, banging on the door. Her clothes were in a bag at her feet. Inside, she could hear another woman laughing with her husband. "John, John, please open the door," she screamed. "This is my house." The door opened, but it wasn't John. It was Jane. Beautiful Jane, wearing Grace's apron, standing in Grace's kitchen. "This is not your house anymore," Jane said quietly. "You should have taken care of it when you had the chance." The door closed. Grace fell to her knees in the rain 8 months earlier. Grace had always been the prettiest girl in her area. Everyone said so. When she walked through the market in Abuja, men would stop and stare. Women would whisper. She knew she was special. When she met John at her friend's wedding, she knew immediately that he was the one. Not because she loved him, but because he had money. He was a bank manager. He drove a nice car. He wore expensive clothes. John was shy. He wasn't used to women like Grace paying attention to him. When she smiled at him, he blushed. When she touched his arm, he forgot what he was saying. "You're different from other men," Grace told him on their first date. "You're gentle, kind." John fell in love fast. 3 months later, he proposed. Grace said yes without thinking twice. Her mother tried to warn her. "Grace, marriage is work. You have to take care of your husband. Cook for him, clean, make him happy." Grace laughed. "Ha, Mama, those days are over. This is 2025. Men and women are equal now. Besides, John loves me too much to complain." Her mother shook her head, but she said nothing more. At first, marriage was fun. John bought Grace nice things. New clothes, new shoes, expensive perfume. He took her to nice restaurants. They went to the cinema every weekend. But after 3 months, John started to get tired. "Grace, can you cook something today? I'm tired of eating out." "I don't know how to cook that well. Let's just order jollof rice." "We ordered yesterday and the day before." "So what? You have money, don't you?" John looked at her for a long moment. Then he went to the kitchen and cooked noodles for himself. Grace didn't even notice he was upset. She was on her phone, chatting with her friends, posting photos of her expensive things on Instagram. The house started to get dirty. Dishes piled up in the sink. Clothes covered the sofa. The bathroom was filthy. Grace would wake up at 11, watch TV until John came home, then complain that she was tired. "Grace, can you at least wash the dishes?" John asked one evening. "My hands are too soft for that kind of work. It will ruin my skin." "Then what should we do?" "Get a house help." "We don't need a house help. We just need you to help a little." Grace rolled her eyes. "You're always complaining now. You've changed since we got married." John wanted to say, "You're the one who changed." But he kept quiet. He didn't want to fight. So he started doing everything himself. Cooking, cleaning, washing clothes, going to work, coming home, taking care of everything. Grace watched him struggle and felt nothing. This was what husbands were supposed to do, she thought. Her friends had told her, a man should take care of his wife. She shouldn't have to lift a finger. 6 months into the marriage, John's cousin came to visit. Her name was Peace. She was a nurse, hardworking and sharp-eyed. Peace watched Grace for 2 days. She saw her wake up late, saw her do nothing all day, saw John come home tired and still have to cook and clean. On the 3rd day, Peace called Grace aside. "What is wrong with you?"
Excuse me? You heard me. Why are you treating John like your servant? How I run my marriage is none of your business. John is my family. That makes it my business. Do you know how many women would kill to have a man like him? Hardworking, faithful, kind, and you are here doing nothing, treating him like trash? He doesn't complain. He doesn't complain because he loves you. But love runs out, Grace. Love runs out when there is nothing coming back. Get out, Grace said. Get out of my house. Peace left, but her words stayed with Grace for about 5 minutes. Then Grace forgot about it and went back to her phone. Jane started working at John's bank in the 7th month of his marriage. She was pretty, but not as pretty as Grace. She was smart, hardworking, and she noticed things. She noticed that John looked tired, that his clothes were sometimes wrinkled, that he bought lunch from the canteen every day instead of bringing food from home. One day, she brought extra lunch. She said, "I made too much jollof rice. Do you want some?" John was hungry. The jollof rice from the canteen was terrible. "Are you sure?" "Yes, please. It will go to waste." John ate the rice. It was delicious, perfectly cooked, the kind of rice his mother used to make. "This is really good," he said. Jane smiled. "My mother taught me. She said the way to a man's heart is through his stomach." John laughed, but something hurt inside his chest. His own wife had never cooked for him, not once in 7 months. After that day, Jane started bringing lunch for John regularly. At first, he refused, but she insisted. "It's just food. We're colleagues. We're friends." They started talking more. Jane would ask about his day. She would listen when he talked about his problems at work. She would laugh at his jokes. John knew he shouldn't. He knew this was dangerous, but for the first time in months, he felt seen, he felt appreciated. He didn't tell Grace about Jane, not because he was cheating, but because he knew Grace wouldn't care. One day, Grace found a text message on John's phone. She wasn't supposed to be looking, but she was bored and John was in the shower. The message was from Jane. "Thank you for helping me with the report today. You're a lifesaver. I'll bring your favorite soup tomorrow." Grace's heart stopped. Who was Jane? Why was she bringing John's soup? When John came out of the shower, Grace was holding his phone. Who is Jane? John's face changed. She's a colleague. Why is she bringing you soup? Because she's nice. Because she cooks for the office sometimes. She's trying to take you from me. John looked at her. Really looked at her. For the first time, Grace saw anger in his eyes. "Take me from you?" he said quietly. "Grace, you never had me. Not really. You have a husband, someone who pays your bills, someone who gives you money. But you don't have a partner. You don't have someone you care about." "That's not true," Grace said, but her voice was weak. "When was the last time you cooked for me? When was the last time you cleaned the house? When was the last time you asked me how my day was?" Grace had no answer. John said, "Jane brings me food because she's a kind person. That's all. But you know what? It felt good. It felt good to have someone care, even if it's just a colleague." He took his phone and walked out of the room. Grace stood there shaking, but not with fear, with anger. How dare he compare her to Jane? She was his wife. She was beautiful. That other woman was nothing. Grace made a decision that would destroy her life. She decided to confront Jane, She went to John's office the next day. She walked in wearing her best dress, her makeup perfect, her hair done. "I'm here to see Jane," she told the receptionist. Jane came out. She looked confused. "Can I help you?" "I'm Grace, John's wife." "Oh, it's so nice to meet you. John talks about you all the time." This threw Grace off. She had expected Jane to be uncomfortable, guilty. But she just looked happy. "I need you to stay away from my husband." Jane's smile faded. "I'm sorry?" "Stop bringing him food. Stop talking to him. Stay away."
People in the office were staring now. Jane's face went red. "I don't know what you think is happening," Jane said quietly. "But John and I are just colleagues, friends, nothing more." "I don't care. Stay away from him." Grace turned and walked out. She felt powerful, victorious. She had marked her territory. But she didn't see John standing in the hallway. He had heard everything. That night, John came home late, very late. Grace was in bed on her phone. "Where were you?" she asked. "We need to talk," John said. Something in his voice made Grace put down her phone. "You came to my office today." "Yes, I told that girl to stay away from you." "You embarrassed me, Grace, in front of my colleagues, in front of my boss." "I was protecting my marriage." "From what?" John shouted. For the first time in their marriage, he shouted. "From a woman who was just being kind? You want to know why Jane brings me food? Because she noticed I look tired. Because she's a good person. That's all. But you don't believe that because you can't understand why anyone would just be kind without wanting something." "John, I'm tired, Grace. I'm so tired. I work all day. I come home and work more. Cooking, cleaning, washing. And you do nothing. Nothing. You don't cook. You don't clean. You don't even pretend to care about me. And now you come to my office and make a scene?" "I'm sorry," Grace said, and for the first time she felt real fear. "I don't think you are," John said. "I think you are just scared, but you are not scared enough to change." "I will change, I promise." "You've been saying that for months. I don't believe you anymore." John went to the bedroom and started packing. "What are you doing?" Grace asked. "I'm going to stay at a hotel for a few days. I need to think." "Think about what?" John looked at her. "About whether this marriage is worth saving." He left. Grace sat on the bed, stunned. But even then, she didn't really believe he would leave her. She was beautiful, he loved her, he would come back. She was wrong. 3 days passed. John didn't come home. He didn't answer Grace's calls. Finally, he sent her a text. "I'm staying at my friend's house. I need space. Don't contact me unless it's an emergency." Grace panicked. She called her friends. They told her to go to the house and beg, to cry, to do whatever it takes. Grace went to the house where John was staying. She knocked on the door. John's friend opened it. "Is John here?" Grace asked. "He doesn't want to see you." "Please, I'm his wife." "He knows." The door closed and Grace felt something break inside her. But it still wasn't enough. She still thought this was temporary, that John was just upset. A week later, John came to the house, but not to stay, to pack more clothes. "Are you coming back?" Grace asked. "No," John said. "What do you mean no?" "I mean, I'm done, Grace. I've filed for a divorce." The words hit Grace like a physical blow. "Divorce? You can't divorce me."
I can and I am. Why? Because of that girl? Are you sleeping with her? This has nothing to do with Jane, John said. This is about you and me, or rather, the fact that there is no you and me. There's just me doing everything and you taking everything. I will change, Grace begged. Please give me another chance. I've given you 8 months of chances. Every day was a chance. You didn't take any of them. John finished packing and walked to the door. You are making a mistake, Grace said. John turned. The only mistake I made was staying this long. I thought love would be enough. I thought you would eventually grow up, but I was wrong. He left. Grace stood in the empty house, surrounded by the mess she had refused to clean, and finally understood she had lost him. Grace tried to change. Finally, really tried. She cleaned the house, she bought a cookbook and tried to learn how to cook. She called John every day, begging him to come back. But John had made up his mind. The divorce papers came. Grace had to sign them. Maybe after the divorce we can try again, Grace said when they met at the lawyer's office. Maybe we can start over. John looked at her with tired eyes. There's no starting over, Grace. You had your chance. You had 8 months to be a wife. You chose not to. I'm not giving you another chance to waste my life. Please, Grace whispered. I'm sorry, John said, and he meant it. He was sorry. Sorry it didn't work. Sorry he had to do this, but not sorry enough to stay. The divorce was finalized. John moved into a new apartment. Grace stayed in the house for 1 more month. Then, John's lawyer told her she had to leave. The house was John's. He had bought it before they were married. Grace packed her things and went back to her mother's house. Her friends stopped calling. No one wanted to be friends with a divorced woman, especially one who had thrown away a good man. 6 months after the divorce, Grace saw John at a mall. He wasn't alone. Jane was with him. They were holding hands. Jane was laughing at something John said. Grace walked up to them. John! John turned. He didn't look angry. He looked nothing. Like Grace was a stranger. Grace, he said politely. You are with her? Grace asked, looking at Jane. Yes, John said. We've been dating for 3 months. Grace felt like she was going to be sick. How could you? We were married. We were married, John said, past tense. You are the one who destroyed that marriage, Grace. Not me, not Jane. You. I changed, Grace said desperately. I learned to cook. I clean my mother's house every day. I'm different now. Good, John said. I'm happy for you. Maybe the next man will benefit from that. There is no next man, Grace said. I want you. John looked at her. For a moment, Grace thought she saw something. Maybe pity. Then it was gone. You don't want me, John said. You never did. You wanted what I could give you. The house, the money, the comfort. You didn't want to be a wife. You wanted to be a princess. And that's not what marriage is. Jane squeezed John's hand and she said, we should go. They walked away. Grace stood there, watching them leave, watching the life she could have had walk away with another woman.
Grace worked as a sales girl in a small shop. Now, she had to work. Her mother was old and couldn't support her forever. Every day was hard. She woke up at 5 in the morning. She cleaned, she cooked, she went to work. She came home tired. She did it all again the next day. She thought about John every day, about the house she lost, about the life she threw away, about how easy she had it and how she never appreciated it. She heard through friends that John and Jane got married.
that Jane was pregnant, that John was happy. Grace cried when she heard that, not because she still loved John, but because she finally understood what she had lost. One day, her mother sat her down. "Do you know why this happened to you?" her mother asked. "Because I was foolish," Grace said. "Yes, but do you know what kind of foolish?" Grace shook her head. "You were the kind of foolish that thinks beauty is enough, that thinks a man should worship you just because you're pretty. But beauty fades, Grace. Everyone's beauty fades. What remains is character. And you had no character. You were selfish, lazy, ungrateful." "I know, Mama." "Do you? Because I see you now working hard, and I wonder, are you working hard because you've learned, or are you working hard because you have no choice?" Grace didn't answer, because she didn't know. Grace was walking home from work one evening when she saw a wedding reception. The tent was big and beautiful. Music was playing. People were dancing and laughing. She stopped and watched. The bride came out to dance. She was pretty, but not as pretty as Grace had been. But when the groom looked at her, his eyes were full of love. Watch them dance. Watch the groom wipe sweat from his bride's face. Watch the bride adjust his tie. Watch them laugh together. Partners, equal partners. That's what she never understood, Grace thought. Marriage wasn't about one person serving the other. It was about two people serving each other, supporting each other, building together. She had wanted to be served, and now she had nothing. She walked away from the wedding, her feet hurting from standing all day at work. Her hands were rough now from washing and cleaning. Her face was tired. She wasn't the beautiful girl everyone used to stare at anymore. She was just Grace, alone, starting over, too late. That night, she lay in her small room in her mother's house and thought about John. Not with anger, not with hope, just with regret. Had I known what I was losing, had I known that he wouldn't wait forever, had I known that other women were watching, waiting for me to fail, had I known that beauty wasn't enough, had I known. But she hadn't known, and by the time she learned, it was too late. The lesson was learned, but the price was everything. Grace closed her eyes and tried to sleep. Tomorrow, she would wake up early again, clean again, work again, do all the things she refused to do when it mattered. But she would do them alone. Some lessons can only be learned the hard way, and Grace had learned hers the hardest way possible. She lost everything before she understood what she had, and there was no going back, no second chances, no happy ending, just regret and the rest of her life to live with it.